I'm Arun, and you have started watching my YouTube channel, AI with Arun Show. So thank you for watching, and please like, subscribe, and share. So today, we are very pleased to have Shashi Raghunandan, who founded the company Oaken. Now, Oaken is a very, very special company. It's basically a B2B SaaS platform that digitizes over 30 billion in annual lease payments between farmers and landowners. Who thinks about farmers in today's world? And here's a man, Shashi, who is focused on just doing something very, very special to the people who actually feed us. So, Shashi, thank you for doing that.
My
So there
pleasure.
is tremendous amount of paperwork, as you can imagine, and communication that is involved and exchange in this process. Open software enables farmers to engage with landowners, find landowners, and eventually be able to finance land from within the platform. They are funded by some leading venture companies out there, including Purdue Ventures, High Alpha, and the Haldeman Group. So, for all the viewers and listeners listening in, Oaken.ag is a digital platform that is designed to help farmers and landowners manage the complexity of land partnerships. It offers a digital tool to simplify land management for farmers, fostering better communication for farmers, record keeping, and overall organization in their land related partnership. Now, here's something special that caught my eyes as I was doing my research. So agweb.com, which is the flagship website of Farm Journal Media, and Farm Journal Media, as many of you might be aware, has a history of 140 plus years working for US agriculture. It recently included Oaken as the top 6 tech trends and tools to watch out for in the year 2024. So that is so fascinating, Shashi. That's absolutely amazing. And many, many congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.
And Shashi, again, thank you for joining us today. He's an IIT Chennai and AM Ahmedabad alumni. He's been at a very senior roles at JP Morgan and MasterCard, among many others. We were founding Oaken in 2023. So, Shashi, once again, thank you very much for coming to our show.
Pleased to be here, and thank you for having me.
Excellent. So, Shashi, you have had such a fascinating ride. You went to IIT and you went to IIM Ahmedabad, the two biggest institutions in India and all over the world. What were your core trigger points? How did your journey at IIT and IIM look like?
Well, I must say that both my journeys were kind of different. My journey at IIT was driven mostly because at that age in India, you're basically given two options: become a doctor or become an engineer. I didn't quite fancy myself becoming a doctor, so that was a path that lay ahead of me. And then, if you choose to become an engineer, you have to write the JEE. That was the premier institute at that time. I was lucky enough to kind of get in, and managed to stumble into IIT, I think, and stumble out of it. And I had a great 4 years. I did very little of anything else, but I did learn how to play basketball, how to play the guitar. And on the side, I did a little bit of studying as well. One thing that I would say is that it made me crystal clear about what my passions were, what my energies, were in. And so as I left IIT, I was very clear I did not want to do certain things, and that was continue my education in engineering. Pivoted thereon to do my MBA from Ahmedabad, which I really enjoyed. So that was a very different experience for me. Enjoyed my time for 2 years, learned a lot, grew a lot through that period, and then joined the workforce. So 25 years ends, here I am with my company, and look back fondly at the 4 years at IIT and the 2 years at IIM. I think they've been formative in my experience here.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Shashi, did you have any mentors while you were at IIT? I know that you talked about how you were not exactly in studies and academics, but when did you have any mentors outside of your academic that sort of pushed you to do what you do?
Yes, I would say that there are a couple of things I did at IIT that I still look back on, and I think were the genesis almost of my interest in trying to form a company. While at IIT, we would have our summer vacations, and most of my friends would head back home, just have a relaxing time back at home for a couple of months, and then recharge themselves and come back. And even in the first year, I remember I was so involved with what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I didn't want to pursue engineering anymore. So the first and second years, I remember stepping out there and trying to look for summer internships which no one in my batch did. Like no one would engage with companies and trying to do something and trying to learn more about the business world. But at that time, one of my father's friends was kind enough to offer me a summer internship. I look back on that period of a couple of months where I would wear a suit and tie and, as a summer intern, make my way to his office. And essentially, it was an exercise in statistical forecasting.
Wow.
He had his own business at that time. He used to manufacture, at that time, there was a bubblegum brand called Big Fun. And the idea was to try to figure out how many units of Big Fun he would be able to sell so that he could forecast how many he had to produce. So it was a fun exercise, I think. And I would say that he was a mentor to me at that time. I think that was my early years. He took a leap of faith in what I could deliver and gave me that opportunity. And that was my first kind of step into both the entrepreneurial side, trying to see how a small company like his was being run, which is great for me, and then also stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit and exploring what really interested me.
Yeah, that's great, Shashi. I just want to reemphasize that stepping out of my comfort zone, what you just said. So for all the listeners and viewers out there, many a time we are in our own world, we are very comfortable in what we do, right? Day in and day out. It sort of becomes, muscle memory for us, routine for us. But then, Shashi, great point there, stepping out of your comfort zone. To all the youngsters out there, make sure that you learn that from Shashi, that stepping out of the comfort zone is extremely important for you to really, really make an impact on the world. No, wonderful, Shashi. So actually, if you were to look back, right, you spent all these years, you had a great opportunity with your father's friend, stepping out of your comfort zone, as you put it. But if you were to sort of go back to your own self 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, what, I'm not trying to give up your age here to all the viewers, but what would your advice be to your younger self?
Well, there'd be a couple of things I think I would, let my younger self. At that time, I was still filled with doubt, I think. And so, there was a way to do certain things. I mean, you got into IIT and you graduated and you did ABC. Those are the options. And then you would, nobody would apply to a summer internship, or there were certain ways of in which the society would conform you to behave or to kind of act. And so those paths were set if you got into a college like IIT. And I think if I look back at the time that I had there, I would have encouraged myself to take a little bit more risk at that time. Those were the days I could have kind of explored more, taken maybe 6 months off, tried to figure out what I want to do, and then kind of re-energize myself and devote myself to things that really interest me. As it so happened, I mean, I found my way through life and kind of gotten to the end point, which I think is very interesting to me, and I'm still passionate about it. But if I were to look back, I think I could have started earlier, taken a lot more risk, and really kind of immersed myself and tried to find my calling earlier. So those are some of the things that I think I would look back and say to myself. The other thing I would say is network is often underrated, especially as a youngster. You don't quite understand. You believe that you can make it all on your own, but as you kind of mature in society, you realize that you are the sum of all of your networks that you have, and so I would advise my younger self to kind of groom those networks over a period of time, stay in touch with people that have helped you or who have mentored you, and reach back out to them. People are always willing to advise you, give you feedback, kind of guide you, and those feedback loops are really important as you grow older. Especially in my case, I've grown significantly older now. So those are the two things. Build your networks early on, mature them, curate them, make sure you do it in a sensible way. And the other thing is commit to yourself, believe in yourself, have faith in yourself, take a bit more risk, and follow your passion.
Yeah. So by the way, Shashi, you still look young. So so which is a good thing. Which is a good thing.
I think that's the AI.
That is the AI. All right, I take it. The younger Shashi, I take that. But what you said is, is fantastic, Shashi. So one is you certainly want people to be bold. right? Take more risks in their lives than what they do. I think that's a great piece of advice for someone who's out there, for a lot of the young people out there, to be bold, because that's the new world that we live in. Things around us are changing so dramatically. Every day is different. Here we're talking about AI, which is just going to change the way we live in, right? And even as we are growing up, we have seen things change. Even the last few years, right? Who knew about ChatGPT just
Yeah.
a year before? Very few people, right? But just it has become a household name now. And right from students to people to retirees, everybody is now talking about generative AI as if it's like we were born with generative AI. But that's the way we live in. And so that's one, to be bold and take more risks. And also, Shashi, you spoke about how we are the sum of our networks.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, I have been with friends for so long, and a lot of my friends that we have been in touch with, they are doing fascinating things. And I have started this particular channel, right? So my friends are the ones that I'm reaching out to. So young people out there, absolutely, don't disrespect the guy next to your room. That guy could be doing something else. You could be doing something else, but absolutely be in touch. So
Yeah.
fascinating, Shashi. All right. So Shashi, we'll pivot now to talking more about the company that you founded, right? So why Oaken and why agriculture?
Yeah.
You have spent a lot of time in banking. You're such in the senior positions out there. So why did you choose what you chose?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So, as I was looking at starting my own company, some were circumstances, and some were, I think, my background that kind of led me to the journey at Oaken. So, when I was looking to start my own company, I joined a venture studio program that's run by Purdue Dial. Now, the way a venture studio works, and I think this will be useful for audiences that are looking to set up their own company, or the younger listeners who want to figure out how to do it in a guided way. So I'd not had an entrepreneurial background. I didn't know how to start a company. A venture studio is a structured way that takes you through a program to be able to refine your idea, and then even come up with the idea in some cases, and then takes you through a refined process to be able to build it into a venture backable company, right? And so it's a 6-month program in most cases. It's run by some institutes in the US, and I'm sure there's some in India as well. So you guys, if ever you want to do that and feel yourself too scared to take that first step, allow some help to come to you and guide you through the journey. So that's what I chose to do. Joined a venture studio that's run by Purdue. The focus of the venture studio was the agricultural supply chain. That was their broad mandate. And so, as you can imagine, it's a huge network, from right from the seed producers and the fertilizer producers, through to the production and the farm, the farm gate, and then down to the grain bins, and then finally into the retail stores and everything else. So it's a huge, and then the consumer. And so as I looked at the space, my background in payments came to the fore. I was looking at payment flows in this entire industry. And to your point, I mean, one of the numbers that stuck out at me was this $30 billion number, which was the amount of money that was exchanged between farms and their leases and their landowners. So as I dug into it, I came to realize that this was a real issue for many of the farms that were transitioning into the next generation. Many of the landowners were also passing on the land to the next generation of landowners. There was no proper record keeping. Payments were being done manually. There was no track of communication. There was a lot of loss of communication, which was leading to a loss of trust, and then things like that. So I realized there was a problem here to be had, and the venture studio really guided me through the process of creating an idea and a product definition out of it, and creating a fundable company out of it, which could be venture backable. So I would say that why Oaken, to your point, the circumstance part of it was the venture studio, which had its own construct on what space to focus on. But my background in payments led me to that, to scratch the surface on that $30 billion number, and then come up with the idea on what could be built and what could be an attractive opportunity here. So it was a combination of both those things that led to Oaken.
Well, that's great. So here you are. You have a extensive payments background, and you looked at something that could make an impact.
Yeah.
and Shashi, you jumped on it, backed, of course, by a very structured approach to venture capital, as you put it, right? And you jumped on it, so that's very interesting. And what about the name? How did you think about the name Oaken?
Oh, that's a great question. So Oaken came from Oaken basically means from the oak tree. And so as we looked at the space we were operating in, and we looked at the future of like where we want to go, of course, hopefully we will succeed and everything else. But broadly, we believe that what we are trying to do is to help forge connections between various actors in the supply chain, help them exchange, all of the stuff that is helpful to building a relationship. And the oak tree is actually representative of a long-lasting relationship, right? So I mean, the phrases out there like "my word is as strong as oak," or it's representative of deep roots, long-lasting, tall, honesty and trustworthiness and everything else. And so that was, I felt it was a good name to represent, what the software was trying to do, which was to build that foundational relationship piece of the business. The logo that you see is actually representing the rings around the oak tree. Like with every passing year, you add an extra ring, just like a tree trunk. And then that's also representative of how the relationship grows over a period of time. And so there was a little bit of thought put into both the name as well as the logo. I'm glad you asked that because I haven't had an opportunity to share that with too many other people.
Yeah, no, that's great because this is very fascinating. I mean, why the oak tree, you're right, is very symbolic,
Yeah,
and what you are doing, that whole relationship between farmers, landowners, is all very trust based.
yeah, it
So
is.
very apt for what you're trying to do,
Yeah,
Shashi.
that's what we felt as well. I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's not just me. I mean, the fact that you guys are being considered as the top six tech trends and tools to watch out for in 2024, I'm sure there are a lot of people who feel that way.
Yeah, touch wood, touch oak.
So Sherry, let's go into deeper a little bit into your business model that you put together. So let's take maybe two use cases, one from a farmer standpoint and
Yeah.
the other from maybe from a landowner standpoint. So if I'm a farmer or a landowner, how do I get started with your platform?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think our platform right now, we are a young company, so we're focused on the farm segment right now. So large farms, medium-sized farms, typically they're leasing land from landowners. In the US, about 40% of all farmland is leased. So that represents close to about, I would say, 300 to 400 million acres of farmland that's probably out there that's getting leased. And so in the Midwest, the leasing patterns are fairly, common, and farms typically lease to more than about 3 to 4, but large size farms, that number of landowners could range from 10 to upwards of 100 landowners, right? And so you're talking about keeping in touch with 10 people, 15 people, that's okay. But typically, when you're talking about a farming relationship, you're not just keeping in touch with that one landowner, you're keeping in touch with that landowner and all of the potential people who could get that land if and when the landowner passes away. And so that contact list, if you will, builds into hundreds, even if you're managing 10 landowners. We've had cases where, person manages 10 landowners and actually the list is that they're keeping in touch with is well over 100. So you can imagine how complicated it gets for people who are managing over 100 landowners. So to get started with the platform, it's fairly straightforward. We contact somebody who has a need, or they get in touch with us at oaken.ag, and you can book a demo on the website. Book an appointment with us. We reach out. We demo the platform. We show you all the features that we help you with, and the benefits that we deliver. And after a quick demo, typically farms are happy to share how they're doing that management today. Many farms do manage that on an Excel file, or they're managing it on a manual folder. Some of that data gets passed to us. We kind of upload it on our system and set the farms up, and they're up and running in less than a week, and with the login ID and everything else. And what used to be taking them hours at a time on months on end, now kind of is all automated, all digitized, and it's really there's a digital trail which they can then share with whoever they want on their on the farm level. So it makes it takes away a lot of the administrative burden for people, and over a period of time, our hope is that the system at the farm level will have a landowner interface, which will do the same for landowners as well. So that's an enhancement that's coming in the next couple of weeks, and we're super excited about it.
That's fantastic. And Shashi, I would imagine that there are a lot of interaction that you'll have with, for example, excuse me, government records,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, do you guys also provide services? So, if there is some registration or record keeping that needs to be done, is that also part of the tool set that you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we haven't yet touched that. So we are still, like I said, we are still a young company. We are focused on the core use case of leasing. So we do touch leases that are exchanged between the grower and the landowner. We do touch soil sample, yield reports, anything that passes between the grower and the landowner. We touch. We don't yet touch the government record and the government. There could be an FSA report or there could be a USD report or whatever it is that needs to be sent back to the government. We haven't yet developed that module. But once we have critical mass data on the platform and we have a good quality data on the platform, I think getting into those extended use cases will not be a problem for us. And that's something that's definitely on the roadmap for us.
That's fantastic, Shashi. So Shashi, let's talk about the tech platform itself,
Yeah.
right? So you have such an extensive amount of technology, amount of paperwork, and documents and records that you are dealing with. How has technology helped you with this?
Yeah, so I think a couple of ways it really helps. So I'll touch upon how it helps our customers, and then I'll touch upon how we have kind of made it in a way that is scalable. So even as we scale customers, we are not scaling on our side as much on the technology spends, right? And so I think there are levers on both sides of that equation. So on the customer side, it's a very basic value proposition, which is you're spending so much time, it's causing you so much anxiety to manage all these records, making sure you don't miss on anything, you making sure you're renewing your leases on time, making the payments, wishing people on their birthdays and anniversaries and everything else, reporting back to the landowners. All of that is done by the technology that is now at your fingertips. And guess what? You have a digital trail of all of that stuff. And over a period of time, if you want to search for records, search for archives of documents, search for things to keep organized, it's a way to keep yourself organized, right? I mean, imagine the days before, some of these systems that are now available to you, like a Dropbox or a Salesforce or something like that. You would manage sales leads or you would manage leasing by sending an email and getting it signed, and then it would come back to you, and trying to find those leases in your inbox, however well you were organized, was always a challenge. And so for the customer, the value is fairly clear, and that's how our technology helps them create that value or generate that value on their business. On our side, the way we have built the platform is around microservices and around an API structure. So we are able to scale the platform in a way so that if we have other constituents or other parties that we're adding to the supply chain or to our platform, maybe we're not targeting the landowner 3 years down the road or the farmer 3 years down the road, and we have added another entity onto the platform as a customer. If they are using a lease management kind of a function, or if they're using a payments kind of a function, we don't have to re-architect the platform to conform or to meet their needs. We'll have these services available to us, which we can then turn around and create, bespoke, services for those guys. So it's built in a way that's a little bit more scalable, and we know that this is a foundational need across different people. So as and when we scale, we're not building everything from grounds up for each different customer we have. We're using the services that we have to be able to kind of reconfigure that, if you will. The other thing we've done is, I think, for us, the integrations and everything else, and this is fairly common now, but all of it is built on the cloud. So we are able to scale as a startup. That is really important. So we use Google Cloud, and it helps you with a wide range of functions. And even as we look at our AI roadmap, that's going to be something that's really important for us.
Well, that's fascinating. So Google Cloud, I didn't know that you guys were on Google Cloud.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll make sure that I tag Google Cloud as well, because this is something Google Cloud should be proud of, right?
Well,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's such an impactful business that you are in. So Shashi, you said something about AI, how your AI is functioning. So let's talk a bit about AI and how AI has helped your business.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there are a couple of things. So to be absolutely clear, we are in our early days of exploring AI. That said, at the very start of our company, we were very clear about the fact that AI has to be we need to have AI within our company, and we can't kind of not be able to integrate some of what's happening out there in the world into the products and services we are delivering to our customers. It's just not an option anymore.
Right.
So with that view in mind, the foundation of any successful AI platform is the data that you get on board, and the cleanliness of that data, and the structure of that data. So the way we've designed it and the way we are uploading the data and structuring the data, it's all kind of really well suited to what can follow, right? And so there are some benefits that our customers, we have understood, want delivered, and we believe that AI can have a real impact in delivering those benefits. So the approach we have taken is not the fact that, hey, we have to be an AI company, and so everything we do, you just, for whatever it is worth, if there's no business return, we'll still do AI. We are trying to be a little bit more measured in our approach. We are a startup. We need to make sure, it's whatever we do generates value for our customers and generates revenue for us. And so the use cases that we've latched on are actually fairly interesting, where customers are uploading a lot of documents onto our platform as part of management of that lease relationship. And there are now AI tools out there that will help you read all of these PDF documents that are coming through, extract some of the key clauses, make sure that you're not missing out on any key terms, and compare documents to leases that you may think are identical, but actually there may be clauses out there that are slightly different. Helps you compare those clauses, helps you identify a risk, help you pre-populate leases on our platform, so makes it easier for you to upload a lease and everything else is populated after that, and helps you craft a new lease document. So next time you want to enter a lease document, we could actually have a recommendation engine on our side which tells you that, yeah, this is the history of all the leases. These are some of the best practices in terms of risks and mitigants that you have from these leases. When you're considering a new lease, why don't you insert those clauses for yourself? And so there's a lot of value that it can deliver on the legal side, on the administrative side. It can save time. It can mitigate risks. So we are focused on that side of our AI roadmap. Google Cloud does have some capabilities that we're evaluating. Of course, it has to be trained on data, and it has to be trained on our data. And we have to develop the use case properly and the user interface and deliver that AI solution to the last mile. But we will be leveraging a lot of the AI capabilities that are available on the cloud today.
Yeah. So Shashi, that's brilliant, because what you said, you're not just doing AI for the sake of it, right? Because we also see people are trying to become an AI first company. But
Mm.
what you just said is you are still very centered on your users, on your customers, right? For the farmers, the landowners, and all
Yeah.
the key stakeholders that you're doing, and you are applying AI for use cases that are very relevant for them rather
Yeah.
than just for the sake of it. All right.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a very brilliant way of applying AI. So it's applied AI, and
Yeah.
that's the
Yes.
best form that you can say. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, what we found is, I mean, there's multiple ways in which you can slice the AI puzzle, right? And so you can be a AI first company. You could be an AI algorithm. You could be developing your own AI kind of logics and become one of those giant algorithms that sit in the cloud and which are then federated to other companies to use. But that's a lot of capital intensive work that goes into a lot of that stuff. And there's a lot of AI that happens in agriculture. You'll be surprised by some of the image recognition technology that's out there in terms of food processing. It's really, it blows my mind. We tend to associate agriculture with, a little bit of a backward looking lens, but I would say that the 6 months and 9 months that I spent with our customers, with plants that are food processing plants across the country, the application of AI in this space is actually way ahead, I would say, of many other sectors, especially when it comes to sorting food, or plowing your field, or harvesting, or planting. I mean, the amount of data generation capability in machines nowadays, and the John Deere equipment that you have, it's really something to be seen. And the analytical capability in real time that they have built into those machines it's really next generation stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think we can't do any of that. I think we are a startup. We are very focused on keeping our customers happy. We are a customer first company, and then the AI is a value driver to our customers. And as long as we are doing that, I think that's good. There are other parts like John Deere's and maybe other Googles and Microsoft that can invest in the larger kind of infrastructure capabilities around AI. That's not the space that we want to occupy. We want to be able to take that and translate it to what it means for our customers and add value at the last mile.
Yeah, that's very insightful. You are a customer friendly company, which is what you should be,
Yeah.
right? And that's what your business model is built in. You're using AI as applicable for your customers, and that's a brilliant way of using AI. At the same time, Shri, what you just said, because agriculture, if you think about it, not a lot of people associate agriculture with technology and AI, and that's one of the reasons why I was in particular very interested about this discussion. Because all the use cases that you sought out, they are very technology intensive. They're hungry for technology. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
there is an agriculture, there's certain ways of doing agriculture, producing and all that, but the application of technology is just sort of in
Yeah.
stage one or level one, right? There are so many things out there. So for anybody who's out to listening, and if you're interested in your own startup, here are some great ideas that Shashi articulated, and you could maybe run with a few of them.
I mean, I'm pleased. I mean, I think the sector is definitely keen on new people coming in from different perspectives, and applying what they've learned in other industries to their industry. My time at at the venture studio, and meeting with customers, I found that they are some of the most progressive minded customers, very focused on ROI. They will be tough customers, but they will help you focus on what is important to them, rather than having your own flight of fancy. So come with that mindset. Come with the mindset of adding value to your customer, and if they find value, you'll be successful. And that's I'm hoping that we find our feet, and we are successful as well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you'll be. Also, just to reemphasize what you just said, you don't really have to be in this field for ages and ages, right? You, for example, Shashi, you started with on the payment side, and look
Yeah.
what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
Look
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. See, life has its own way of taking you into different directions. You find an application, and then in an adjacent space, and you move into that space. Who would have thought 5 years ago that I'd be building my own company and in this space? But I find it fascinating. I think it's an exciting problem. There's an application of payments to this space. Find something that excites you, and I don't think you should be wedded to that I am this person or I'm that person. Your identity is defined by what you want to do, and the world is an oyster. I mean, just go explore it.
Yeah, fantastic. Shashi, let's take a pivot again. Let's talk about your leadership style, right? As you set up this company, you have your own co-founders, or the people who helped you find this company, plus all the staff and people that you work with. What is your leadership style?
Well, I think I don't know. I mean, if you ask me to kind of articulate, that's probably a question better suited for people who work with me, who have reported to me, or who have mentored me, or who've been my bosses, or whatever it is. They probably be able to give you a better answer to that. But I think my sense of my own style is that I am more driven by curiosity and learning, and by guiding, rather than kind of taking a more prescriptive view of how things need to be done. So I try to enter every situation with a fresh mind. Whether it be setting up this company, I had no idea on what is to be done. My style there was to just be open to ideas, be open to getting my ideas rejected, getting feedback, sometimes very tough feedback on the ideas that I came up with, and be flexible in your opinions of things, and what your customer wants. And so I think that comes from an innate sense of curiosity that I have, to try to find new things, to try to find solutions, to try to find a way around things. And then also, especially as you set up your own company, it's good to have an ego, because you need to be persistent. You need to have a strong mind to find your way through challenges, because that's what it is. But ego beyond a certain point can actually land you in a tough spot. And so if you're not listening to your customer and ego gets in the way of that, or if you're not responding to some of the issues that they have, you can have a problem there. So I'd like to think that we are responsive, we are a little bit more open to listening, and that's probably part of who I am. In terms of, I think, managing or guiding, I would say, I'd like to, I more or less hands off kind of thing. I like to give people their freedom, and find the right people, and give them a blank canvas and have them scribble on it, and draw up their own thing. And that's been my approach with the co-founders and with teams that I've led in the past. I don't like to micromanage unless it gets out of control. And I think my team knows that. When I start having more than a weekly conversation with them, they know that something's off. But then, yeah, I mean, I trust my folks, and their ability to execute. So that I found is a better way to scale than trying to micromanage. And I've had managers who do that as well. That hardly ever works, and generates, I think, a toxic atmosphere for most of the team, which I found in some of the earlier teams I worked in.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. I mean, giving the people the liberty to, execute, as you said, right, that canvas on which they can paint their own, but of course, under a broad guidance that comes from you, that is phenomenal. And how about decision making, Shashi, in terms of, you have taken so many decisions related to the company, the business model, the kind of customers, people that you work with, about the platform. How does that work for you?
Each person has their own style of decision making. I'm more data driven. I tend to be more kind of do a little bit of research on my side, unless I implicitly trust the person who I've deputed their decision to. But critical decisions, I will not shy away from reading more about it, informing myself on what are the risks, what are the downsides, probing, and speaking with experts, right? So I have a trusted panel of people I go to. I'm always kind of speaking with mentors, with guides, talking about my challenges, and seeking advice, getting their perspective on things. And that helps me formulate what are those risks with any decision. End of the day, I have to make that call. But what is that upside? What is that downside? As long as I'm making it carefully, I think that is fine. I'm comfortable with that. I also tend to classify decisions into like the high importance ones, like obviously the ones that are I know have a high impact. If I'm making an investment decision for the company, or if I'm negotiating a term sheet with an investor, I think those are high critical decision items, and I spend a lot more time on that. And I tend to not kind of focus on what I think and perceive as the ones that are that can be managed by somebody else, and where I don't need really much of a decision making power. And so I tend to prioritize the ones that have a longer term impact on the company, or at least a deeper impact on the company. So yeah, I'd say broadly it's more data driven, more feedback loops, and it involves a fair amount of reading, or a fair amount of conversation and dialogue and debating before I pull the trigger on anything.
Yeah, that's great. So being open to debates, being open to change, right, and at the same
Yeah.
time, backed by data is your advice. This is great, right? So Shashi, we'll pivot again. Let's talk about you spoke about your childhood, and the way you grew together as a leader that you are today. You spoke about the company, the technology, how AI is helping, the whole impact of AI in the field of agriculture. Let's talk a little bit more about what your future roadmap looks like. Where do you want to see Oaken in the next couple of years, and how are you thinking about it?
So Oaken over the next couple of years, I think we for me, it'd be great if we are able to solve for many more customers, right? If we are able to serve them at scale, that for me would be really important. Yes, the funding is important. Yes, the valuation will come and everything else. But I think core to it is if we are able to demonstrate that we have found product market fit at scale, that we've found customer value at scale, that customers love us, they see real value in using the product, those would be the markers that I'm really looking for: customer happiness and delight. Um, I think over the next 3 years, if I'm able to get the company to that stage and a certain scale of revenue, I think that would be success for me. The other thing that from a product perspective, I have a vision for where this company I think can go, which is, in many different places, but I'd like to take it to the next step in that journey, which is to add another customer segment into our portfolio. So right now we're going after large farms or medium-sized farms. I'd like to also potentially tackle property managers and farmland managers and other people who are engaged in this farmland transaction into that product and bring them under the product fold, if you will. So those are the couple of things that we stay focused on, which we are raising money for. And so that's the journey for us. The rest of it, is the how of how we get to those points, endpoints, customer delight. I mean, AI could be a tool to that. Our distribution mechanism could be a tool to that. Our marketing, the way we, publish like HubSpot does, a lot of good content around how we solve for their problems. Things like that. I think those could be real value adds too.
That's great. The property manager that you spoke about, I think that's a great adjacent use case to what you're already doing,
Yeah.
right? I would imagine very similar in terms of leads, in terms of relationships,
Yep.
right? Both on the buyer and the seller side. So those are great use cases. Shri, how about things like, for example, expanding to other use cases? I know that you are focused on the US markets for now,
Yep. Yep.
but how about other countries? Has that thought crossed your mind?
Yes, for sure. So this is not a problem that's unique to the US,
Yes.
as you can imagine. Canada, Brazil, Europe, Australia, markets that we have looked at have similar both leasing challenges as well as farmland transition challenges. And so we know that our platform has broader applicability than the geography that we're in. That said, again, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We are still a very young company. We have a lot to do to demonstrate our value in the product and market that we are in. That the geographical expansion will probably come once we've established our roadmap in this country, and we're able to demonstrate how we move to different parts of the supply chain and the value that different people find in our platform in those areas. Once we've solidified that, I think moving to a Canada would be logical next step for us. It's an adjacent geography. Many of our partners have presence in Canada. Channel partners have a presence in Canada. It's a very similar market in terms of crop type, in terms of lease behavior. So that would make the most sense for us. Yeah.
That's great. Shashi, thank you. So great conversation, Shashi. I truly appreciate you taking the time.
My
We
pleasure.
spoke at length about your experiences, your making the company, and the great roadmap that you have for Oaken. So I wish you good luck for
Thank
Oaken,
you.
and I'm sure that you're going to do extremely well. There's a fantastic area for somebody to be in. You're the kind of impact that you and your team are creating that is phenomenal, and I certainly look forward to you being named as not just in the agriculture space, but in other adjacent spaces in other countries in the near future. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you so much, Arun. It's a real pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thank you,
Uh,
Shashi.